Hello and welcome back. Is it still fair to wish you guys a happy new year? Hope so. Anyway, I thought I'd start this year with a little bit of community service and took a comment into credit. Ryan Medina wrote, "Hey man, really love your tutorials, learned a lot. Very thank you for you to take time out of your day to these highly informative tutorials." You're welcome. Thank you very much. Was wondering if you could do a video where you can recreate the synth from Chords and Memories by BD Tom. The sound first happens at 26 seconds. Any help you can give would be great. So he also provided a link to the song, and I had a listen, and I didn't know the track before. Really nice, lush, warm, spacious track on the housey side of things, and yeah, I think I first didn't really understand what you meant exactly because it felt a little bit too easy, and then I figured it out, the snippet at 26 seconds. Yeah, about that. So I sat down, created something, and decided not to take you through the process because it took me like 2 hours or something to try a number of things, and yeah, this is the result, and let's have a look at that. And I will also provide this file in the description below, so don't miss it. I hope you learned something or get an inspiration or whatever. So let's have a look then. So I'm not going to play the track on the channel, by the way. I don't know if this has any legal implications or so. Just don't know. Don't want to end up with copyright takedowns and shit like that. So have a look at the track. I mean, I will also put that into the description so you get an idea. And this isn't an exact copy because I think that's not possible really to redo all these things, especially the sound, Ryan, that you mentioned. I think very often happens when you have a number of modulations and they're talking to each other, and it just happens along the way. At least in my work, it wouldn't be really something I would probably program to happen the way I did right now for the purpose of this video. So please keep that in mind. Whatever we have right now here, just bass drum, some background chords, and this quirky thing on top. And what I heard in the original, something that made me wonder a moment because I knew where it came from, and eventually I figured out, yeah, that's maybe a vocoder. I'm sure there are many other ways to get there. If you have a certain synthesizer and it has some envelopes that do this kind of thing that I will talk about, many ways to Rome as usual. This is just one potential way to get there, and so let's check out what I've done here. First off, again, nice chord. It's important. I think that was A minor or something, and I just spread it out and add a little bit of an inversion. Did I? Yeah, probably. That's the chorus chord. Anyway, and for the modulations, I used velocity this time. So let me show you what I've done here and disable all this stuff for a second. That's probably the fastest way. Let's listen to this and zoom in. So what do we have here? It's rather basic, simple wavetable, saw-based thing, a little bit of modulation to this, no second oscillator. To get into this little bit rich and washed out, lush kind of sound, I used the unison. Let's hear that without, you understand why. Right now you really have this saw quality to it, and you can pick out individual peaks, and that's something I want to get away from. That when I hear the sound like the one in the BD Tom track, because it's cool. I like that. If you would distort that, you could easily get into old chain reaction territory probably. But anyway, if you use the unison, it becomes a tad lusher because you have much more voices playing at the same time, and it blurs out the entire saw thingy and becomes a more coherent thing. However, it's not that washed out right now. You could probably go completely haywire here with different modes, but I don't like doing that, and it's very rarely that I'm doing this. So I'm deciding the number of voices by sound, as many as I need until it becomes this little bit rich, but not too chorusy. Then we have a bandpass filter here, which is sweeping all across the frequency range to get these kind of tingly things. Like I said, I used the velocity for the filter frequency and just went into the sequence here and set up stuff accordingly. But as you can hear, it doesn't have, if you listen to the original and your sound, there is something more going on with the envelopes, and I could probably maybe tackle that with some more modulation, but this is just, let's not do that, but instead use a vocoder for that. Because what the vocoder does, let me disable this for a second and now check out the transients, especially the very high frequencies. Right now they are very separated and clear, and check out what happens if I enable the vocoder. It washes out the transients in this very interesting way, because it tries to stick the sounds into the band slots, and as the sound sweeps between them, it creates this strange kind of curve. So that's really cool, and you can play around with that a lot and get all kinds of weird stuff. So you lose the definition, it almost sounds like 12-bit DAC crunch if you go for few bands, and if you go for too many, it's still this interesting attack thing that I like. For for stuff like this. And I'm not exactly sure if BD Tom really used a vocoder for that. Only he knows. However, I thought it would fit the flavor, and yeah, but 40 bands probably too much. Half will do, almost. You get into really strange territory when playing with a vocoder. So a lot of sound shaping potential here. Now it's getting really spectrally and messy. Let's keep it like that. And also the vocoder tag has an impact on this particular effect. If you knock it completely down to 0, it doesn't create these interesting sweeps between the bands. So same with that, probably gets a little bit distorty if you put down both. Not pleasant. So if you put the attack too high, you're losing this definition, and the transient completely washes out. So it can be interesting in some situations as well, but for this quirky kind of stuff, somewhere around, I don't know, 20 to 50, probably cool. Formant also has an interesting impact, but that's not too useful. Anyway, what I think right now is that the interesting stuff that's happening in the high frequency area is washed out a little bit. So let's reinforce that with an EQ. And then, because saturation is nice, let's saturate that a little bit, probably too much on the lower registers. I really want to saturate the high stuff just a little bit. Yeah, and then it's just about adding flavor, and I used the echo here to, let's check that out again for a second, without, as some kind of fake double tracking thing. So it adds a little bit more stereo and washed outness. Can probably get a little lower again, and yeah, well, tad compression, so it sits better. And if there was more going on right now in the track, which it isn't, could probably help giving it a little bit more of that lushness. And yeah, tiny bit of space, and no, isn't that? And that's just another echo instance. And here we have the Valhalla vintage reverb again. It's just my favorite one as of now. For the sake of completeness, this sound, also saw based, if you listen to that without the filters, the same shimmer. I love the shimmer setting, it's just so good. A little bit of modulation. Just, what is it? Why can't I hear that? I can hear that, I'm just stupid. Okay, so we have this nice moving lush thing, and then just remove some of the high frequencies before going into the bandpass, because I think, why did I do that? Did it really make a difference? Yeah, a little bit. It removes a little bit more top end. And then EQing to get rid of some of the boxiness. That's just... So this area here is, it's not much boxy, but I like it with that dimmed a little bit down. And also stereo panning, I noticed in the original that he does that, and I've done the same thing to no, that doesn't make sense. So now it would make sense because I'm also routing the other sound into that. I didn't care much. So the idea is you have your initial dry sound on one hand and the reverb with a little bit of pre-delay on the other, so it spreads out nicely and creates this illustrious kind of space. And as well, just echo on top without really feedback or something like that. It's merely for character and tone, without gives this nice double tracking chorus you get from these old tape machines, and that's I like that. So that's that really, and could potentially add an auto filter on top and have that add another layer of movement. Probably something I would do just because it's nice. Be careful with the resonance. If you're going for lush, I think lush tracks are lush because it's the opposite of resonant and also the boxiness. Be sure to check out like your bands around 200 to 400 hertz for annoying frequencies. Sometimes it really helps to dim down pads and chords just a dB or two to remove this annoying resonant boxiness that you sometimes get into in the box production. So, and one more thing, as an alternative to my vocoder setup here, I did something else to make it more interesting. So what we have here right now is carrier, just one long sustained note feeding into the vocoder on this quirky channel. No, wait. I'm mistaken. I mixed it up. This is... So the carrier is the band carrying the frequency information, really. So this tells the vocoder in which bands to operate, and it's just like this one, the sequence again with velocities, taking care of the bandpass filter here. And then we have the sustained tone here. Now comes the vocoder getting the frequency information from this track, and the interesting thing happens here if you start using way different sources and sounds and waves other than just the saw, because it shines through so interestingly, and you can easily get tons of different timbres out of this. Obviously, we can also sync that. You get all these nice things playing between these two instances, which of course you should disable the carrier then. And yeah, that's how I would potentially attend these things. Really, there isn't much more to that, and I know it's not accurate, but hopefully you get an idea and an impulse. It works like that, so let's try this or that. And yeah, as usual, please leave your questions and remarks in the comments. If you find something interesting, I mean, Ryan just wrote a comment, and why not? I want to extend this kind of stuff and keep it going, and there will be new videos soon, I promise. I've had so many things in my mind that I need to sort, and right now the new workstation is set up. And in the meantime, the Discord has also been super useful, and lots of interesting conversations going on there. If you feel like, I don't know, should I go there? Am I the chatty kind of thing? If you've been in the IRC during the 90s, you will feel a certain kind of home there. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, commenting, sharing, liking, writing, and I'll be back soon. Don't forget to check out the file in the description below. So, see ya.